Hi, folks. Welcome back to the show. I'm Matt Logan. I am here again today with Brad Trahan, Rochester, Minnesota Mayor Hopeful. We're going to get into some stuff again today. DMC, actually. Let's do this. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Strap up that harness because it's time to shake things up. We're going to rattle them around. Let's go. Welcome to the Matt Logan Show.
Hey, Matt, great to be back. I was here yesterday, had a great conversation on public safety, so thanks for having me back. And I know today I want to talk about DMC, so let's hammer that out.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
I don't know much about DMC, and this is something that I hear and see and hear and see, and nobody explains. Like, obviously, Destination Medical Center, I do know that. But when you talk to, let's say someone on the street, so to speak, it's like, well, yeah, they're just going to bring in, it's hard to really nail it down.
It really is, and quite honestly, we're almost at the halftime part for DMC. This is a 20-year public-private initiative, and there's still probably people thinking, what is DMC? And the Reader's Digest version is it's a $5.6 billion public-private investment into the community in southeastern Minnesota, so to say. And when you really look at the dollars spent, I mean, Mayo's putting in $3.1 billion. Private investments is $2.5 billion. The state of Minnesota is $585 million. It's a big investment. And there's a lot of frustration about DMC right now. My take on this, Matt, though, is it's
because let me make sure I understand this. There's no voting on it from the public. This is just going to happen. This isn't something that, right?
Well, the DMC has their board, and then like for their budget approval, that goes through the city council, and the city council approves their budget. The city council being the 6 members and the council president. But the DMC board does set the table, so to say, and so there is some checks and balances in terms of what the city is doing as far as if the DMC presented a budget and the last one passed only on a 4-3 vote. So you could tell there is concerns about what's going on. So the citizens of Rochester, through their ward reps, do have a say on what's going to happen in DMC in that fashion.
Sure. My understanding, or my the way that I've seen it, essentially from rubbing shoulders with a few people, having conversations, though, most people aren't super excited about what's been happening with it.
Well, when you really look at
people.
Yeah, and that's fair. I've been knocking on doors left and right, Matt, and people are frustrated. I've talked to local businesses. I've been downtown twice, and their frustration is, if you really look at the DMC initiative, it's to bring the highest quality experience to the patients, visitors, and community, and it's fair to say that the community has been overlooked. They really have, and it's time now. In a sporting event, if things aren't going well at halftime, what does the coach do? They have to come up with a new game plan. And I've shared this with DMC. They have to come up with a new game plan. They have to re-engage the community. They have to re-energize the community. They have to involve the community. It's too important of a project, and I don't think people realize this, but the tax revenue, the 20-year tax revenue coming back to the city is $270 million. For the county, it's $218 million. And for the state, Matt, it's $1.9 to $2.2 billion. So what really has to happen here is DMC has to re-engage the community and the local business. That's a 44-block district. Do you know what? We're sitting about 110,000 square feet of empty office spaces in that district. They need to really start involve the community. My recommendation, if I'm elected, I'll be honest with you, we do not have one local business or regional business. I should say a local business at the local level or regional on that board. We need somebody that has that business experience to have a say at the board so they can finally be heard.
I've had the opportunity to travel all over the country a lot. Planes, I've been everywhere. Gas stations, restaurants, hotels, all over the country. One of the things that, and I've been to many other countries, and one of the things that in our country that is beautiful is that they're all different. That they all have their own flavor. They all have, you go to, I have a lot of friends that go to Kansas City for barbecue. They literally will be like, hey, we're bored this weekend. Let's run down to Kansas City for barbecue, right? They're known for these things. New Orleans, we all know. So what I see, what I've talked to other people about is when people come into Rochester, they're like, oh, this looks like big metropolitan areas or whatever else it might be, and the plans for the future of other projects doesn't have the small town feel that I think a lot of the local people enjoy. Am I wrong?
It's fair to say. I mean, obviously we have the world's finest medical center right here in our backyard, and at times,
but it doesn't make us New York.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't make us that way. And quite honestly, I don't want to go down the road of a New York or Minneapolis or St. Paul. We talked about public safety yesterday. Same token. When you think. What we have to do as a community is get ahead of things. Let's tie in the medical community we're in. If you have to have a medical procedure and the doctor's always going to say, Matt, stay ahead of your pain. Here's the pain medication. Stay ahead of it. We have to do the same thing in our community. We have to stay ahead and not work from behind. The energy and vibrancy downtown, it just isn't there right now. It's not what it used to be. On a Saturday night at 11 o'clock at night, I drove it. And there's only one pub open downtown at 11 o'clock. Now you look and DMC is going to have to be a player in this, is that we now have 250 UMR students that are going to go into the old Doubletree building. What are those individuals going to do, Matt, on the side for some type of an entertainment? Because that's the common theme.
When there's nothing to do, they cause trouble.
It could happen.
And it becomes, statistically speaking, that's what does happen.
But I feel we as a community aren't giving those individuals more options to do different things. That's what I want to explore.
Yeah.
Let's go out and let's talk to our 18 to 23-year-olds. What would you like to see in our community? What are some ideas that you would have? And let's try and make that happen. We have the Mayo Civic Center right down the road. What can we do to implement that, since that's taxpayer, to help involve some of those 18 to 23-year-olds? And DMC has to be part of that problem, or part of that solution. My apologies. You look in Rochester. We don't even have a nice aquatic center. It's been years. What can DMC to play a vital role to support that? Now I understand the council has to come to an agreement on what that looks like, but right now DMC really has to take a look and say, no one wants them to fail. I mean, they're important for our state.
Oh, absolutely, no one wants them to fail, but it's confusing what it looks like, and for a lot of the public that I talk to.
Fair point. And that's where they should get ahead and use better communication. When I go down and talk to local businesses that are in the same block district, they said they've emailed the DMC, they've left messages, and no returns. In my belief, Matt, growing up, there's just no excuse for no return calls. There's just not.
Yeah, there's good news, there's bad news, and there's no news. And no news is much more dangerous than good or bad news.
In the general public, people are okay with hearing things that maybe they don't want to hear. But there's just no excuse if you don't give any news whatsoever, and that's what creates frustration. Yeah. And I would encourage DMC, and what I'm telling you today is not what I've already told them. They have to do a much better job of communicating with the community. Yeah,
and so you're running for mayor. We all know that at this point, not all of us, but we're going to get some listeners from outside the area. I get, I'm not just a local guy. Sorry, Brad, but the thing is, how can people have their voices heard on something like this? What does that look like if they're not returning messages?
It's unfortunate, but then you need people like me to call that out. Say, you know what, I want to help you. I want to see you through this. But if you don't take advice from people, because I'm knocking on doors, it was told to me, well, I'd like to come knock on doors with you just to see what the community is saying. And I thought, you don't need to tag along with me to knock on doors. You need to initiate that on your own. Have some public forums. Bring people together. You know what? We do live in a beautiful community. But right now, the direction we're going, I don't like the direction that we're going, and that's why I'm running for mayor. I've never seen the mistrust for local government as I've seen it today.
Yesterday, you talked about Ardell Brady. I was honored to know him. He gave me an award, and it's not about me, and I didn't know that was happening, and all these other things. Is phenomenal. And he came out unannounced to one of my speaking engagements at a high school in Rochester. And I grew up with Chuck Hazama as mayor, and what a guy he was. I met him several times over the years, and look, I'll be completely honest. I I am not impressed with what I see right now. And I don't even live in Rochester. Do a lot of things in Rochester, but I don't see that the community of Rochester is super impressed as a whole with the current administration, because there's a lot of policies that I've seen that have been directed in one way. DMC is supposed to be a bipartisan initiative. Does that look that way? And that's a rhetorical. Don't answer that. It's just to get you to think about it, get people to think about it, because I think we know the answer. We spoke off camera that you're going to do things as neutral as humanly possible. What does that neutrality look like when there's something with this kind of money behind it, in that it seems to be, from a public perspective, a huge disconnect?
Great question. First of all, I want to touch base on Chuck Azama. I was here. He served 14 years. Of his 18, I was here. He impressed me. He inspired me. Yeah. His optimism, his energy, his positivity. It was explained at his celebration of life that he would bring someone in, he would listen to their concerns, he would acknowledge them, but then he would explain the why, and they'd be shaking hands at the end of the day. Yeah. What a tribute he was. Mayor Brady, I'm happy to announce that he has publicly endorsed me. He endorsed my opponent before, but Mayor Brady has seen me lead at the local, state, and actually national level, serving on the Board of Trustees for Project Lifesaver, and he feels that I'm the best person to lead this community going forward. Matt, it's what I've done. It's what when I chaired the Minnesota Autism Task Force, 18 members on an issue that is so emotional and complex, and we had to bring people from all walks of life together. And the governor had a mandate for us to just really give us a snapshot of what's going on in the state of Minnesota. We did that in 1 year's time. So when you tie all that into what's going on with our community, you know what, Matt? I'm not going to be Democrat or Republican, extreme left or extreme right. I'm the can-do and will-do candidate. It's talking to people, it's listening to them, and it's bringing back to compromise. I think what's sad, what's going on in society right now, is it's got so polarized from the federal level on down that you and I at one point used to maybe have a disagreement about an issue or a matter and then go have lunch later on. We're at the point now where we can't even have those discussions, and we got to get back to that. And once we get back to that, and that's what we're going to do if I'm elected mayor, we're going to get things done, and it's going to be done with spirit, it's going to be done with positivity, and we're going to have fun doing it along the way.
That's excellent. My schedule is really tight, Brad. Okay. But are there other topics that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I think, fiscal responsibility is on the minds of a lot of people when I'm talking to them. If I can get another time with you and do fiscal responsibility, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Have a good day.
You got it. Thank you, Brad. It's hard to know what to believe, who to believe, so I trust in God. But the rest of it, I'll research. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, or snide remarks, go ahead and email me. Sure appreciate all of those comments. Go ahead and hammer out a follow, hammer out a share button, hammer out the like button, and we're also welcome every single one of your reviews. Maybe one of your questions, comments, or suggestions, or even snide remarks will be on one of the upcoming episodes of Ask Matt Anything. Certainly appreciate you being here, and we appreciate Brad being here and being just very open about his thoughts on the DMC. So we'll see you next time.